Hello, this is Betsy Waugh, and for the next hour, I'll be reading from the Thursday, June 18th issue of the Democrat Chronicle on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Eastman policy followed argument. Director acknowledges unconstructive behavior by Marcia Greenwood, Rochester Democrat Chronicle, USA Today Network. On June 1st, the George Eastman Museum announced new rules for special occasion photo shoots on museum property, including a requirement that professional and amateur photographers pay $400 in advance for 1-hour outdoor sessions. The museum said the policy change was needed to protect the National Historic Landmark, once the home of Kodak founder George Eastman, and to prevent increasingly popular photo shoots involving prom-goers, graduates, and newly engaged couples from disrupting other visitors. What the statement did not mention was a May 21st incident in which a photographer and a group of prom attendees, taking pictures outside the Dryden Theater after hours, became involved in a heated confrontation with the husband of museum director Bruce Barnes, and then with Barnes himself, prompting a police response. Incident at the George Eastman Museum. In a May 26th email obtained by the Democrat Chronicle, Barnes told museum employees that at about 6:30 p.m. May 21st, his husband arrived at the museum to pick him up. When Barnes's husband pulled into the driveway in front of the Dryden, he encountered a BMW parked the wrong way in a fire lane and surrounded by 30 to 40 people. Others were gathered on the theater steps for a prom photo and video shoot. Barnes wrote that the photographer, videographer, and members of the crowd began moving around his spouse's vehicle and, quote, screams, demands, and threats, unquote, including threats of physical violence while using profanity and homophobic slurs. Quote, I emerged from the museum's front entrance and approached the crowd. I informed them that I was the director of the museum and that they and their car were blocking a fire lane and needed to clear the area immediately, unquote, Barnes wrote. The group then moved to the museum's west garden, but, according to Barnes, quote, continued to hurl threats and homophobic slurs and to scream about their right to be there and do whatever they wanted, unquote. Quote, the photographer and videographer continued to take pictures and video of the prom couple in the west garden, unquote, Barnes wrote. At least one 911 call was made, and officers from the Rochester Police Department responded to the museum at 900 East Avenue. Rochester Police Captain Greg Bellows said no arrests have been made and the investigation is ongoing. Barnes concluded the May 26th email by noting that the museum has, quote, had problems with the impact of the overwhelming amount of yearbook, prom, graduation, and other special event photography in our historic gardens and elsewhere on our property. This week, we'll be issuing a new policy that will substantially limit such photography, he wrote. We will also be taking steps to enhance security on our grounds, unquote. June 5th email to the staff, quote unquote, I deeply regret my behavior. In a June 5th email to museum staff obtained by the DNC, Barnes described the May 21st incident as, quote, a serious confrontational situation, unquote, and acknowledged that he lost his temper several times and behaved in a quote unquote inappropriate and unconstructive manner. He wrote that after the group moved to the West Garden, he followed them. Quote, there, I yelled and otherwise interacted unconstructively with a number of individuals who were involved in other special event photographs, unquote, Barnes wrote. He also acknowledged being verbally abusive toward an employee during a staff meeting the following morning. Quote, I deeply regret my behavior, he wrote, unquote, adding that he apologized to the employee and others present. Quote, I also apologize to each of you as my colleagues and as part of the George Eastman Museum community for my inappropriate and unprofessional behavior, unquote, he wrote. Barnes also addressed social media posts made by his husband in response to criticism of the museum's new photo policy. He wrote that his husband made, quote, inappropriate, confrontational, rude, or offensive statements on social media and in private communications. Quote, I do not in any way condone or approve of these statements, nor was I aware of them prior to his making them, unquote, Barnes wrote, adding that he has no active social media accounts. Quote, I regret that these statements could understandably be perceived to have been made by a representative of the museum or its director, unquote. The posts have since been deleted. Barnes said his husband was traumatized by the May 21st incident and expressed hope that he would not make future comments that could reflect negatively on the museum. Quote, I promised you that I'm committed to addressing and remedying any adverse results of my words and actions, unquote, Barnes wrote. Statement from the museum board chair. Asked about the incident, Museum Board of Trustees Chair Nanette Nokon issued a statement, quote, we take the May 21st incident seriously, Nokon said. Bruce has acknowledged that his response was inappropriate and has expressed remorse, and appropriate internal steps are being taken to address the situation, unquote. Nokon said the museum is reviewing incident response procedures, security protocols, and photography policies to ensure consistency and alignment with the needs of visitors in the broader community. She added that the museum plans to engage professional photographers and community stakeholders through listening sessions to discuss the future use of museum grounds. Reached by phone June 12th, Barnes declined to discuss the May 21st incident or his husband's social media posts, but did address the new photography policy. The museum's new photo policy. Since 2017, the museum has charged $400 per hour for outdoor wedding photography sessions and $600 per hour for indoor sessions inside Eastman's former home. Reservations are required. The new policy extends those requirements to other special occasion photography sessions and applies to both professional and amateur photographers, Barnes said. The policy does not apply to casual snapshots taken by visitors. The museum, which operates with an annual budget of about $10 million, is a privately funded nonprofit. While it does not receive regular taxpayer subsidies, it has received government grants for specific projects. Concerns about cost. Many commentators on social media have said they support clearer rules and stronger oversight of photography sessions on museum grounds, but believes the fees are prohibitively expensive. One Facebook commentator wrote, quote, how does this align with your mission that states, quote, inclusively serve our diverse communities, unquote. Another called the fee, quote, a go-away fee, that is, quote, intentionally too high for most people. Barnes rejected that characterization. Quote, that's absolutely untrue, unquote, he said June 12th, quote, we do not have any desire to discriminate against people based on their financial situations, but the way one generally controls demand is by putting a price on something, unquote. He said the museum may explore ways to make the photo sessions more accessible to people who cannot afford the fees, and acknowledged that this year's prom season accelerated implementation of the policy. Quote, I think we could have handled the communication better, Barnes said. What we probably should have done is call a press conference because then people would have had the opportunity to ask questions. Still, he added, we'll never be able to have unlimited access unless we stop being popular, unquote. The reporter, Marcia Greenwood, primarily covers the grocery business and the consumer-focused grocery news, as well as retail development, openings, and closings. Send story tips to mgreenwood at rochester.kane.com. Follow her on X at Marcia Greenwood. Election 2026. Much is on the ballot in Monroe County's June primary, by Steve Howe, Rochester Democrat Chronicle, USA Today Network. It's primary season in New York, with a full slate of candidates duking it out on the local, state, and federal level. The races set for the June 23rd primary include a three-way race for a seat in Congress, a jam-packed state assembly ticket, and some competitive local primaries. How these races shake out won't just determine the candidates in November races, but outright determine some. The key Monroe County primary elections: the New York 25 Congressional District, incumbent Congressman Joe Morelli faces a pair of challengers in Robin Wilt and Sharita Trawick for the seat he was first elected to in 2018. Wilt previously ran for the same seat in 2018 and served on the Brighton Town Board from 2018 to 2025. Trawick served 6 years on the Greece Central School District Board of Education and has worked at Rochester Institute of Technology and Schenectady Community College. State Assembly 130th District. A pair of primaries will select the Republican and Democratic candidates for the Assembly District containing Webster and Olive Wayne County, with incumbent Brian Mancatello, a Republican, not seeking re-election. The open seat has attracted a busy field of contenders, including 2 Democrats, Carl Fitzsimmons and Joseph LaManna, and 3 Republicans, Summer Johnson, George Dobbins, and Mark Johns. Johns, a Monroe County legislator and former state assemblyman, and Fitzsimmons are both Webster residents. Fairport Village Mayor. Deputy Mayor Heidi Woika will be on the ballot in November regardless of the result of the primary on the Working Families line, but a primary win over Tracy Briggs would leave her as the only name on the ballot. Briggs is currently serving as a village trustee. Primary election day is from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Tuesday, June 23rd. In primary elections, voters registered with a political party with a race in their district are eligible to vote in the primary election. Where can I vote in the primary election? To find your polling place, visit monroecounty.gov/elections-voter and enter your address, last name, and date of birth. Voters can also vote at any of the 15 early voting locations, with polls open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on June 17th, 19th, 20th, and 21st. On June 16 and 18, polls are open noon to 8 p.m. There are 15 early voting locations in Monroe County: the Monroe County Office Building at 39 West Main Street, Edgerton Recreation Center, 41 Backus Street, the David F. Gadd Community Center, 700 North Street, Staybridge Suites, Rochester University Hotel at 1000 Genesee Street, the Susan B. Anthony Museum and House, 17 Madison Street, Brighton Farmers Market at 1435 Westfall Road. There's an ASL interpreter on site. Irondequoit Community Center at 450 Skyview Center Parkway, Suite 200. Gates Presbyterian Church at 1049 Wegman Road, the Henrietta Public Library at 625 Calkins Road, Pittsford Town Court, 3750 Monroe Avenue, a Parenton Presbyterian Church, 6511 Pittsford Palmyra Road in Fairport, Penfield Community Center Community Room, 1985 Baird Road in Penfield, Webster Justice Court Building at 1002 Ridge Road in Webster, the Greece Town Hall at 1 Vince Toffany Boulevard, and the Sweden Clarkson Community Center at 4927 Lake Road in Brockport. Grown-ups take the wheel in Pinewood Derby fundraiser. Democrat Chronicle, USA Today Network. Adults will race small cars and raise funds for the Cub Scouts during the Water's Edge District Adult Pinewood Derby on Saturday, June 20th. Sager Stoneyard Pub at 46 Sager Drive will set up a full-fledged racetrack on its patio for the races, which will be conducted from 3 to 6 p.m. The pub is providing prizes, and raffles will be held as well. The cost is $20 per racer. Entries are limited to people 21 and older. Sign up at www.scoutingevent.com/397- uppercase W, uppercase E, uppercase A. So it's We Adult, uppercase P, uppercase W, uppercase D. Entrants should not wear uniforms or scouting apparel, according to Seneca Waterways Council of Scouting America. Car kits are available for $7.50 at the Strong Scout Shop, 2320 Brighton Henrietta Town Line Road, or people can use cars that they made earlier. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Democrat Chronicle on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Obituaries. Ronald J. Gallina, Gallina, age 77, in Irondequoit, New York, passed on June 15th. Arrangements are through the Bartholomew and Perrotta Funeral Home. An interment will be at Holy Sepulchre Cemetery. William Pete, P-E-T-E, aged 69. Rita A. Power, aged 82, in Hilton, New York, passed on May 31st. Arrangements are through the Dreyer and Giltner Funeral Home. Service time is June 20th at 11 a.m. at St. Mark's Church. And Jean Sawicki, Sawybcky, aged 99, in Rochester, passed on June 16th. Arrangements are through the Paul W. Harris Funeral Home. Hochul touts hydropower line sending Canadian electricity to New York City. By Nancy Cutler, Rockland, Westchester Journal News, USA Today Network. The Champlain Hudson Power Express, a giant hydropower charger connecting Canadian electricity to Queens, is officially complete, Governor Kathy Hochul announced. The 339-mile-long CHPE, or Chippy, transmission line is expected to deliver 10.4 terawatt-hours of clean energy per year to the New York metro area, Hochul said in her June 16th announcement. The transmission line actually became operational a bit ahead of schedule on May 13th, according to the CHPE, or Chippy, and transmission developers. Hochul took a less than veiled swipe at the Trump administration's Environmental Protection Agency in its rollback of measures to curb greenhouse gases. Quote, "This project is further proof that despite the unprecedented federal headwinds we are facing, New York will remain a national climate and clean energy leader into the future," unquote. A ruckus in Rockland over roadwork disruptions. Most of the Chip E line passed under the Hudson River, save a section from Washington to Greene counties, and again in Rockland County, where the transmission cable came on land to avoid the environmentally fragile Haverstraw Bay. The extensive construction work along Route 9 West, the main drag in North Rockland, caused many detours and massive delays, locals complained. Businesses along the corridor reported financial losses in 2025 from the mess. Businesses pointed out that they were suffering from a line that wouldn't benefit them. Chippy set up a $150,000 relief fund, but business owners, many mom-and-pop proprietors, and the North Rockland Chamber of Commerce said the losses were more like $13 million. Chip E pointed to the tens of millions in benefits already distributed to local host municipalities. A settlement deal brokered by U.S. Representative Mike Lawler, Republican, Pearl River, announced in May established a $1 million Good Neighbor Fund. The ins and outs of how and when that money would be distributed to impacted businesses continues to be hammered out. Haverstraw Supervisor Howard Phillips pointed to that and the ongoing roadwork in the corridor. Chip E is expected to complete curb-to-curb pavement and promised intersection improvements along the 9 West corridor from Stony Point through Haverstraw to Congers in Clarkstown. Quote, "They may be done, in other words, they charge the line, but they have a tremendous amount of work to do," unquote, Phillips, the Democrat, said. What's the need for hydropower in New York City? Chip E, CHPE, called Chippy by many, was launched over a decade ago as a way to boost New York City's energy needs and reduce carbon emissions, especially in urban neighborhoods. It could meet up to 20% of the New York City power needs. Hochul supported the plan as part of her quote-unquote all of the above push for clean energy. The line was first pitched in 2010 and supported by former Governor Andrew Cuomo. Chip E has been seen as part of a mix of energy replacement plans weaved into the longtime push to shutter the aging Indian Point nuclear power plants in Buchanan. Indian Point was shut down in 2021. The Chip E project, contracted by the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, was developed by Transmission Developers Incorporated, which is owned by Blackstone in partnership with Hydro-Quebec. The reporter Nancy Cutler covers people and policy. Reach her at ncutler@lohud.com. Follow her on X, Blue Sky, and Instagram at Nancy Rockwell. Carnival-style events scheduled near the University of Rochester by Laura Nichols, Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, USA Today Network. The College Town Carnival will feature local vendors, drinks, treats, carnival activities, games, and more. The carnival will be held from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Saturday, June 20th, around 1331 Mount Hope Avenue. It will highlight small businesses and will include face painting by Confetti Pop Entertainment, music by DJ Cartier, balloons by Balloons ROC, and a soft play zone by Petite Party Company. Blue Apple Productions will provide the carnival activities and games. Free parking is available in the College Town Garage. People may apply to vend for $50 with insurance verification required at https://www.collegetownrochester.com/events. Broken Doors, Blocked Fire Exits at Center of Wyndham Closure by Kayla Kane, Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, USA Today Network. Rochester officials shut down a downtown Wyndham hotel June 12th over fire and building code violations, a move both the mayor and owner say could have been avoided. The mayor and the hotel owner agree on one thing: it didn't have to go this far. The city of Rochester ordered the temporary closure of the downtown Wyndham Hotel on June 12th after said management failed to address nearly 24 critical fire and building code violations. Code enforcement records show the State Street Hotel was recently cited for blocked fire exits and broken or missing doors around common areas, including the ballroom, restaurant, and bar. Mayor Malik Evans called the closure a quote-unquote last resort after multiple meetings with hotel management to resolve the complaints. Quote, "When you see that happen, it means that we ran out of time and we ran out of patience," he said of the closure. "We have a lot of demands on our city for hotel rooms, and we want to see the Wyndham and all hotels be able to succeed, but they have to be operated in a safe manner," unquote. Hotel owner Nayan Patel blamed the delay on an outside hotel management company he hired to run the property while he was on medical leave. Patel, who lives in Atlanta, said he was unaware of the code violations until the closure order came down last week. He is now in town to oversee repairs and said the former management team was let go over the weekend. Patel described the code violations as minor, including crash bars on exit doors in the ballroom that needed to be replaced. He hopes to meet with city officials soon and reopen in the next 2 weeks. Quote, "I don't blame the city. They were not too happy," Patel said. "It should not have gone this far," unquote. The reporter Kayla Kane is on Instagram at @ByKaylaKane or get in touch at kcanne@gannett.com. Elections 2026. Brockport voters keep village court an appointed trustee. Steve Howe is the reporter from the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, USA Today Network. Voters pushed to maintain the status quo in the village of Brockport, with voters selecting an appointed board trustee and voting to maintain the village court in the June 16th elections. Sandeep Singh will retain his seat on the village board, overcoming a challenge from Scott Hunsinger. The vote was 415 to 318. A position on the board remains vacant but was not included in the June elections. In the race for village justice, Christopher R. Martin and William G. Andrews ran unopposed to retain their positions. Those positions will remain as voters narrowly voted against the abolishment of the village court by a count of 386 to 366. Had the vote to abolish the court been successful, all cases handled by the village court would have been sent to Sweden Town Court or Clarkson Town Court beginning on July 1st. Despite continuing the village court, voters backed Singh, Singh, a supporter of the abolishment of the village court, over Hunsinger, who called the court efficient in a critique of the village administration. Webster, trustee, incumbent, and challenger tied on election night, by Steve Howe, Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, USA Today Network. The race for Webster Village Trustee remained deadlocked in unofficial results on election night on June 16th. Incumbent Michael Morency and Brian McGraw split the vote 126 to 126 with 2 write-in votes. The winner will serve a 1-year term on the village board. If the tie remains in place, state law dictates a runoff election. Alternatively, if both candidates waive the runoff election, it'll be settled, quote-unquote, by lot, meaning by chance, such as writing the candidates' names on paper and drawing one determined by a state Supreme Court judge. The runoff election would be conducted on the first Tuesday, at least 10 days after the final certification of the tie vote. Voters also rejected a proposition to cede 2 parcels owned by Xerox to the town of Webster. The corporation sought the cessation of the parcels for redevelopment, though there are no proposals before the town or village to do so at the moment. One parcel was 32.2 acres and one is 1.32 acres. Both are zoned industrial, with the larger off Mitchell Dean Drive and another off Ridge Road. Kaleidoscope Expo at Convention Center, by Laura Nichols, Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, USA Today Network. The 35th Brewster International Kaleidoscope Expo is being held in Rochester this week, and the showroom will be open to the public for 2 days. Designers will display and sell more than 1,000 kaleidoscopes at the showroom at the Joseph A. Floriano Rochester Riverside Convention Center, 123 East Main Street. It will be open to the public from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Saturday, June 20th, and from 1 to 4 p.m. Sunday, June 21st. The cost is $5 for each adult. Children with an adult and students with school IDs are free. Non-members will also be able to register for any class by a designer, with a $25 non-member upcharge at the sales room table. However, a few slots were available for the classes as of Friday, June 12th. People can become a member quickly by completing a membership form and paying dues for 1 or 2 years. They can then buy $355 tickets to attend the entire expo, register for a class at list price, and receive a 10% discount on purchases in the sales room. Some society members will tour the Corning Museum of Glass on Wednesday, June 17th. The expo, which includes meetings, classes, meals, awards, and a costume contest, will officially start on Thursday, June 18th and continue through Sunday. For more information, go to Brewster's Society, spelled BREWSTERSOCIETY, brewstersociety.com/kaleidoscope-convention/2026-general-information/schedule/. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Democrat and Chronicle on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Lou Gramm to sign albums at the House of Guitars, Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, USA Today Network. Lou Gramm will visit the House of Guitars on June 20th to autograph albums and CDs, as well as his memoir. The co-founder of the rock group Foreigner will appear from 2 to 4 p.m. His book, Jukebox Hero, My 5 Decades in Rock and Roll, is available for sale at the store at 645 Titus Avenue, Irondequoit, along with his musical productions, quote unquote, released, Ready or Not, and Foreigner 4. Visitors will be allowed to take pictures. Graham, age 76, is a graduate of Gates Charlie High School and has been inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a member of Foreigner, and the Rochester Music Hall of Fame. From 1 to 3 p.m. at the store, the Fred Costello Drums Student Showcase will feature the students of Sam Eygabrod, Eygabrod, a Rochester City School District teacher. House of Guitars hosts performances on Wednesdays and Saturdays. For information, go to houseofguitars.com/what's-happening /. Nostalgic Movie Nights, Where to Find Drive-In Movies in New York State. By Victoria E. Friel, New York Connect Team USA Today Network. Looking for a bit of nostalgia that won't break the bank to share with your friends and family this summer? Head to one of more than a dozen drive-in movie theaters across the Empire State. Ticket prices typically don't exceed $15 per person, with many offering free ticket options for young children or a double feature on the silver screen. So grab some blankets and snacks, hop in your car, and spend several hours at your nearest drive-in for a fun-filled after-dark activity. Here's a list of 24 drive-in movie theaters to visit throughout New York State. The Finger Lakes Drive-In, 1064 Clark Street Road in Auburn. Ticket ranges from free to $10. More information is at fingerlakesdrivein.com. The Unadilla Drive-In at 1706 State Highway 7 in Unadilla, spelled Unadilla in Otsego County. Ticket prices are free to $10. The Black River Drive-In Theater in Watertown in Jefferson County, free to $8. More information at blackriverdrivein.com. The Malta Drive-In in Saratoga County, $7 to $12. The Transit Drive-In Theater at 6655 South Transit Road in Lockport, Niagara County. Prices are from free to $12. The Overlook Drive-In Theater at 126 DeGarmo Road in Poughkeepsie. Wow. The Four Brothers Drive-In Theater in Amenia and Dutchess County. The Hollywood Drive-In Theater on Route 66 in Rensselaer County. The Midway Drive-In Theater at Route 45 in Fulton County. The Vintage Drive-In Theater at 1520 West Henrietta Road in Avon, Livingston County. Prices range from free to $12. More information at vintagedrivein.com. The Glen Drive-In Theater in Queensbury. The Charcoal Corral and Silver Lake Twin Drive-In at 7037 Chapman Road in Perry, Wyoming County. Ticket prices range from free to $11. More information at charcoalcorral.com. I happen to know there's also games and food, quite a bit of other things going on there. The Warwick County Drive-In in Warwick in Orange County. The Fair Oaks Drive-In Theater in Middletown, also in Orange County. Hathaway's Drive-In Theater in Rensselaer County. Portville Drive-In in Cattaraugus County, and the Highway Drive-In in Greene County. The Jericho Drive-In in Albany County. Greenville Drive-In in Greene County. City Drive-In in Newark, 5418 State Highway 31. Ticket prices range from $8 to $10. More information, rosecitydrivein.com. The Ozoner Drive-In Theater in Fulton County. El Rancho Drive-In Theater in Montgomery County. The 56 Auto Drive-In Theater in St. Lawrence County. And the Elmira Drive-In Theater in Elmira, where ticket prices range from free to $12. And more information is at the elmiradrivein.com. 2 events to celebrate Rochester Subway. Rochester Democrat Chronicle, USA Today Network. The Rochester and Genesee Valley Railroad Museum will hold 2 June events to mark the 70th anniversary of the end of the Rochester subway service and the 110th birthday of Rochester Subway Car 60, which the museum is restoring. A gala at George Eastman House will be held June 21st, followed by Subway Day on June 27th. The Rochester Subway Gala, a 1950s-themed fundraiser featuring classic cocktails, cinema, and history, will be held at the George Eastman House and Museum, 900 East Avenue, from 5 to 9 p.m. on Sunday, June 21st. Attendees are encouraged to wear period Mad Men-style attire from the Mad Men show. All proceeds will raise money for the restoration of Car 60, the subway's last surviving car. After a cocktail reception, End of the Line, Rochester's Subway 2.0, will be shown in the Dryden Theater, followed by a moderated Q&A with the film's producers. It explores the history of the line that operated from 1927 until 1956. Tickets are $125 a person and include one complimentary drink ticket, cocktail reception, and admission to the screening and Q&A. A cash bar will be available. Rochester Subway Day and train rides will be held from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. June 27th at Rochester and Genesee Valley Railroad Museum. Special exhibits will explore the history of the Rochester Subway from its origins in the bed of the old Erie Canal until its final run on June 30th, 1956, as well as a display of the museum's progress restoring Car 60. Attendees can also ride on the museum's vintage diesel trains, which leave every 30 minutes, and look at the state's largest collection of preserved railroad equipment. Tickets cost $15 for adults 18 to 64, $12 for people 65 and older, $10 for young people ages 5 to 17, and free for younger children. For more information, go to rochestertrainrides.com. Dark Star Orchestra bringing Grateful Dead vibes to Rochester. Rochester Democrat Chronicle, USA Today Network. Dark Star Orchestra, a Grateful Dead tribute band, will perform at ESL Ballpark at 7 p.m. June 24th. The 7-piece band has been performing for nearly 30 years. Its shows are based on actual Grateful Dead set lists or on, quote, unique sets from the Dead's extensive catalog, unquote, according to its website. Quote, for us, it's a chance to recreate some of the magic that was created for us over the years, unquote. Keyboardist and vocalist Rob Baracco is quoted as saying on the website. Quote, we offer a sort of historical perspective at what it might have been like to go to a show in 1985, 1978, or whenever. Even for Deadheads who can say they've been to 100 shows in the 90s, we offer something they never got to see live, unquote. The presale price is $37.50. For tickets, go to www.darkstarorchestra.net/tour/. Watkins Glen Cardboard Boat Regatta to highlight Waterfront Festival by Jeff Smith, Elmira Star-Gazette, USA Today Network. Looking for something to do on Father's Day weekend? The highly anticipated 33rd Annual Waterfront Festival and Cardboard Boat Regatta will be held Saturday, June 20th in Watkins Glen, filled with family-friendly activities at Seneca Harbor Park. Michaela Christensen, Director of Watkins Glen Promotions, said the event will take place from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., kicking off the summer season in the Finger Lakes with activities, live entertainment, and the thrilling Cardboard Boat Regatta. Visitors can enjoy a variety of food, crafts, and nonprofit vendors the entire length of the event. From noon to 4 p.m., attendees can participate in free family activities such as face painting, balloon creations, and interactive games, Christensen said. The musical highlight of the festival will be a live performance by five-man trio from 4 to 7 p.m. The main attraction, the Cardboard Boat Regatta, will start at 2 p.m. Participants will race their ingeniously crafted cardboard boats held together by nothing but duct tape and glue through the waters of Seneca Harbor, Christensen said. Before the regatta begins, attendees can visit the concourse of cardboard to see all the boats lined up and vote for their favorites. Christensen said it's not too late to join the fun and enter the Cardboard Boat Regatta. Applications and rules are available at watkinsglen.com. The village called the regatta, quote, unquote, a cherished tradition that brings the community together to celebrate the start of summer. Quote, we're thrilled to have the support of local volunteers, local businesses by way of sponsorships, the Tourism Assistance Program, and a generous grant from Erie Canal Pathways to make this year's festival better than ever, unquote, the village said in a statement. Webster native to compete against world's best at U.S. Open by Justin Ritzel, Rochester Democrat Chronicle, USA Today Network. What does Webster native Jackson Ormond have in common with golf legends like Rory McIlroy and Scottie Scheffler? All will be teeing off at the 126th U.S. Open Golf Tournament this week at Shinnecock Hills Golf Club. Ormond earned his spot against the world's best after shooting a 128, 65-63 during qualifying at Gaston Country Club in North Carolina earlier this month. In May, Ormond shot a 70 at the links at Greystone in Walworth to win local qualifying. The 18-year-old, who committed to the University of Florida late last year, is one of 21 amateurs that will compete this week. Ormond tees off at 8:36 a.m. for Thursday's first round, then is part of the afternoon group on Friday. Ormond is the first Rochester area native to qualify for the U.S. Open since 2013, when another amateur, Pittsford's Gavin Hall, made the field. Quote, it's a lifelong dream. Honestly, I didn't even imagine I'd be here in this position with a chance to play at Shinnecock. Unquote, Ormond told Golf Channel after his qualifying round at Gaston. Quote, I'm so grateful for it. It means everything. It's such a blessing, and I can't wait, unquote. While Ormond attended and recently graduated high school in North Carolina, he was once a member of Webster Schroeder's varsity golf team. As an 8th grade student at Spry Middle School, Ormond placed 8th in the Section 5 Individual Boys Golf Championships and was later named All-Grader Rochester. This week's visit to Shinnecock continues a busy June for Ormond, who recently made his Corn Ferry Tour debut at the BMW Charity Pro-Am in Greer, South Carolina. One of two amateurs in that tournament, Ormond shot a 70 in the first round, but missed the weekend's cut with a 10 over 151 across 2 days. Field in chaos. Auberg Fitzpatrick trending up at Shinnecock Hills. Chrissy Eckert is the reporter from USA Today. The U.S. Open has a way of making fools out of the favorites. The last 4 champions arrived as afterthoughts and left as legends. J.J. Spaun birdied his final 2 holes to win his first major last year at Oakmont. Now the championship moves to Shinnecock Hills in Southampton, New York. It's the first time it's back there since 2018, when Brooks Koepka was the last man standing on a course that made the rest of the field look lost. This year the field is in chaos. The world number 1 is chasing a career Grand Slam on his 30th birthday. The back-to-back Masters champion cannot find his swing. And the hottest player on the PGA Tour is a 26-year-old that nobody's really talking about. Somebody unexpected usually wins this thing, and nothing about the field suggests this week will end that streak. Here are some of the golfers riding a hot streak heading into the 2026 U.S. Open, and the ones looking to find a spark. Winners: Ludwig Auberg. Auberg has been the best player on tour all spring, but nobody's really talking about him. He has 6 top 10 finishes in 7 starts. He's second on the tour in total strokes gained and considered exceptional off the tee. Auberg is just 26 years old and has never won a major. That looks like it's going to change sooner than later. Shinnecock's wide fairways and ball-striking premium were built for the way he plays. Mats Fitzpatrick. He's been here before, and he knows how to win this specific tournament. The 2022 U.S. Open champion also has some momentum. He has 3 wins in 2026 through 12 starts, including back-to-back victories at the RBC Heritage and the Zurich Classic. His iron play has taken a giant step forward this year, and Shinnecock will demand it from the first tee to the last hole. He's not a name that's getting mentioned entering this week. Tommy Fleetwood. He shot the course record 63 at Shinnecock in 2018 and still did not win because Koepka was immovable. That round has followed him ever since, the best score in the history of this course, and he had nothing to show for it. He has some momentum now. He has 2 quality finishes in his past 3 starts, including a top 4 at the Memorial, and his game is trending in the right direction at the right time. Dark horses. Scotty Scheffler. Nobody manages a major championship week better, and nobody has more riding on this one. He has 4 top 7 finishes in his past 5 U.S. Opens, yet he has never won this major. The approach play and putting he showed at Memorial last week will not cut it at Shinnecock, so he needs to be sharper. But he gets a shot at the career Grand Slam on Sunday, his 30th birthday. That's either the greatest motivation or an enormous amount of pressure. Rory McIlroy. He won back-to-back Masters and has played just 2 tournaments since he claimed his latest title. A driver issue cost him at the PGA Championship. He did not look major championship ready. He also missed the cut at Shinnecock the last time it hosted the U.S. Open in 2018. None of that will matter if his driver and putter show up this weekend. When they do, nobody beats him. The questioning entering Thursday is whether this is finally the week. Losers. Xander Schauffele, Schauffele. He has won 2 majors in 2024 and has just 1 win since. He won the Bay Current Classic in October 2025. The form that made him a must-pick at every major just 2 years ago has quietly gone missing. He's still dangerously talented, but he's not the same player who was unbeatable 2 summers ago. Bryson DeChambeau. He's a 2-time U.S. Open championship and a betting favorite entering the tournament. He won this tournament at Winged Foot in 2020 and Pinehurst in 2024. In those tournaments, you saw the version of him that's unbeatable in this format. The problem is that he missed the cut at the PGA Championship last month and has not strung together the kind of sustained play that wins U.S. Opens. The U.S. Open is June 18th, that's today, through the 21st at Shinnecock Hills Golf Club, Southampton, New York. And you are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Democrat Chronicle on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. That really ends all the local news in the paper today. So I'm going to read a little bit more from the Nation and World part of the paper that I don't usually get to. Trump blows up spy bill in rift with Senate GOP. Republicans now more willing to defy the president. By David Morgan from Reuters in Washington. President Donald Trump's derailment of a Senate plan to pass a key national security bill this week is only the latest example of a growing rift with Senate Republicans who are more willing to defy the commander-in-chief in the run-up to the November midterm elections. Aiming to protect his controversial choice of loyalist Bill Pulte as acting U.S. spy chief, Trump forced the Senate Intelligence Committee to postpone a confirmation hearing for U.S. Attorney Jay Clayton, his permanent nominee for Director of National Security, who Republicans had hoped to fast-track into the job. Quote, he made a colossal mistake, unquote, Senator Tom Tillis, Republican of North Carolina, said of the president's move. Quote, it's undermining our ability to produce the very results he wants, unquote. It was the latest in a series of actions by Trump that have upended Senate Republican plans to move major legislation intended to forward his agenda. Last month, his announcement of a $1.8 billion quote-unquote anti-weaponization fund to compensate political allies who claim to have been victimized by federal authorities stalled a $70 billion bill to fund his immigration crackdown. Trump has also ruffled Senate Republicans by unseating sitting incumbents, demanding $1 billion tied to his White House ballroom that was supposed to be paid by outside sources, and the passage of his voter ID bill, the Save America Act, and by calling on the party to end the Senate's 60-vote filibuster and fire the parliamentarian. As a result, Senate Republicans have begun to say no to Trump's more extreme demands, including passage of the SAVE, or Save America Act, which would require lawmakers to do away with the filibuster because of vigorous opposition from Democrats. Quote, I think the president wants to add Save America to pretty much everything, unquote. Senate Majority Leader John Thune, Republican of South Dakota, told reporters after Trump first called for the package of voting restrictions to be added to the surveillance bill. Quote, but that obviously is not realistic to get the FISA bill done, and we want to get the FISA bill done, unquote. The result has been a deeper division between Trump and Senate Republicans less than 5 months ahead of the November midterm elections. Quote, I think we're in for a bumpy 7 months or so, unquote, predicted Senator John Cornyn, Republican of Texas, who lost his primary re-election to Trump-backed challenger Ken Paxton in May. But not all Republicans agree that Trump's actions have been disruptive. Quote, he's doing the things that people want, unquote, said Senator Rick Scott, Republican of Florida, who hopes to see warrant requirements added to FISA legislation. Quote, Americans, Republicans, Democrats, Independent, want election security. They want voter ID and stuff like that, and they don't want to be surveilled, unquote. Outrage over Pulte. Trump's selection of Pulte as acting intelligence chief sparked outrage among Democrats and some Republicans over the housing regulator's lack of any national security experience and prompted Democrats to boycott legislation to extend Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, or FISA, for fear that Pulte would use his position to attack Trump's perceived political enemies. The president also doubled down on his demand that Senate Republicans attach the FISA legislation to his voter ID bill, the Save America Act, a package of sweeping voter restrictions that Democrats strongly oppose. Lawmakers and independent analysts say Trump's longstanding disregard for Congress and the demands of legislating is coming into sharper focus now that Senate Republicans are confronting half a dozen competitive midterm races at a time when Trump's foreign policy and trade initiatives have raised costs for voters. Quote, I think he really doesn't see Congress as an entity for making deals with. He sees it as something subservient, unquote, said Molly Nixon, a senior fellow at the Libertarian Cato Institute. Others said Trump has caused distrust by unseating Republican incumbents, including Cornyn, who has been seen as a reliable supporter of the president's agenda. Quote, that destroyed what remained of any kind of trust, unquote, Cornyn said. Quote, that changed the playing field in a way where you'll see a lot more of what I would call transactional relationships as opposed to ones based on trust, unquote. Less than a year and a half into his second term as president, Trump has seen his approval ratings fall from 47% around the time of his inauguration to only 36% this month, slightly above his all-time low of 33% during his first term, according to a Reuters Ipsos polling data. Among Republicans, his approval has dropped significantly over the same period. Thune's willingness to stand up to Trump and defend the integrity of the Senate has earned him the respect of his conference and even Democrats, despite the hyperpartisanship of Congress. But that has also raised questions for Thune, who was asked by reporters about his relationship with Trump on June 17th. Quote, it's fine. The president has his own mind and makes his own decisions, unquote, the South Dakota Republican said as he turned and walked away. Warsh era begins as rates left unchanged. The new Fed chair also launches sweeping policy review by Howard Schneider, Ann Safir, and Michael S. Derby from Reuters in Washington. Federal Reserve Chairman Kevin Warsh opened a new era on June 17th, with officials agreeing to leave interest rates unchanged despite inflation stuck well above their target, but also launching an ambitious reform agenda to reshape how the U.S. central bank conducts and communicates monetary policy. Warsh, spelled W-A-R-S-H, who took over as Fed chief in May, made an immediate imprint in organizing a unanimous consensus around a stripped-down policy statement that jettisoned any forward guidance on what actions the central bank might take in the near term, although new quarterly projections issued by Warsh himself showed 9 of 19 policymakers now anticipate a rate hike by the end of 2026. Indeed, the shortened document issued by the central bank's Federal Open Market Committee heralded a return to a format similar to that used by former Fed Chairman Alan Greenspan and clearly reflected Warsh's disdain for expansive communication about what's to come. Forward guidance, Warsh said at his debut news conference, was not, quote-unquote, well-suited to the current economic moment. Quote, I can't give you any forward guidance about what we're going to do next, he said. The good news is we'll be meeting in 6 weeks, unquote. The statement's description of the economy touched on issues Warsh has emphasized, mentioning that, quote, productive growth and capital investment are strong, unquote, while acknowledging inflation was, quote, elevated relative to the committee's 2% goal, unquote. That development was assigned in part to, quote, supply shocks that have driven price increases in certain sectors, including energy, unquote. The statement marks a turning point not just in leadership at the central bank, but in a monetary policy outlook that since the fall of 2024 had been geared to lower borrowing costs from the elevated rates used to help tame inflation that hit 40-year highs during the COVID-19 pandemic. Fed observers took immediate note of the shift. Quote, the changes to the policy statement were profound, unquote, Thomas Simons, or maybe Simons, chief U.S. economist at Jefferies, wrote in a note, quote, the word count dropped substantially and the modest amount of forward guidance present showed two-way risks to the next move for policy. Policy statements became much wordier after the GFC, or global financial crisis, so this is a return to a more Greenspan-era style of post-meeting communications, unquote. Big changes set in motion. The decision to leave rates unchanged and the outlook for a possible rate hike from nearly half of the Fed policymakers means there's a very little prospect for Warsh to be able to deliver the rate cuts that President Donald Trump, who appointed him, has been expecting the new central bank chief to deliver. New projections show inflation slowing sharply next year, allowing rates to return to where they are now by the end of 2027 and easing modestly further in 2028. Quote, the committee will deliver price stability, unquote, the statement said. Warsh also cautioned against reading too much into the dots. Quote, I reviewed the dot plots, and when I saw the submissions, I noted that all the submissions were coming in with pencils, those kinds with big erasures, unquote, he said. Warsh, meanwhile, used his news conference to announce a sweeping review of how the central bank conducts its business in critical policy areas, including its balance sheet, communications, data sources, productivity, jobs, and inflation framework. And I'm out of time. But you have been listening to a reading of articles and features from the Thursday, June 18th issue of the Democrat Chronicle. Your reader has been Betsy Waugh. Thank you for listening.